someone has given me one of these. Oh my, ooh la la, do you see that? Dare I? Yes, I dare. All right, put this thing on. Go ahead and applaud for how good I look in this. Yes, and be thankful I have clothes on under it, right? Okay, good deal. I'm not much of a robe-wearing guy. I usually, if I get out of the shower, I got to be somewhere. I don't have time to lounge around in this thing. And plus, I think it makes me look like a pimp in this a little bit. Or, as I noticed in the last service up on the screen, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, which is kind of embarrassing. But anyway, I don't have a lot of opportunity with something like this. I just don't do it. But there was a time a couple of years ago when I was going to speak at a place, and they put me up in a really nice hotel. I don't know if it was 4-star or 5-star, but it was nice. And one of the reasons I know it was nice is that when I went in the bathroom, they had a couple of these things hanging with like the embroidered name of the hotel on there. Have you ever been to one of these places? I mean, it was just like, wow. And of course, I thought, I'd hate to insult them by not trying it on. So I put the thing on and I'm walking around, and it just occurs to me, like, in this little room, man, I mean, my life is awesome. Because if I get the munchies, I can just pick up the phone no matter what time of the day it is, and I can call and order up some of that filet mignon on the menu and, have that come up. And when they came up, they don't come up with like a baseball cap and driving a car with one of those things on it, because normally that's who delivers me food, right? But they come in one of these bellhop uniforms, and they wheel in this really nice silver platter, and they pull it up like this, like, ooh la la, that kind of a thing. It's like, wow, this is so cool. I mean, when I'm wearing this kind of robe, and I take a shower, it's like, I can go in there 45 minutes of hot water. I can stay in there however long I want. I don't have kids banging on the door going, Dad, you're taking up all the hot water, right? When you're living a robe lifestyle, it's all about you. You don't have to worry about the needs of other people. I can empty the little shampoo bottle and not worry about refilling it because someone's going to cater to my every need and bring me one the next day. I can take that towel and just kind of wad it up and throw it in the corner in a wet mess, but that's okay. Because I've got somebody that's going to come in and make my bed and take care of my towels for me and bring me fresh ones. That's just the way it is. I can sit on the end of the bed and I can clip my toenails and just let those babies fly wherever I want them to. Was that too much information? Should I have stopped at the filet mignon? Anyway. But that's really what it's like. And when you're experiencing something like that, you start to realize, that's kind of the way our culture says is the goal. That's kind of the goal. That's the life. It's where you're being catered to, where people are serving you, where it's all about you. It's one thing that I love about Jesus. And we're doing a series called The Greatest. And we're looking at Jesus as the greatest servant, the greatest teacher, the greatest healer. We're going to have a challenge for you as a church, a really fun challenge every week to do in accordance with each of those. And we'll get to this week's challenge in just a little bit. But one of the things I love about Jesus is that he takes the world's opinion of the way things are and he always flips it on its head. Remember, Jesus said things like, the greatest among you would be the greatest servant among you, or the least among you. He turns things on its head. He would say, the last shall be first and the first shall be last. You've heard him teach these things too, right? He'd say things like, if you want to lose your life, you need to lose your life if you're going to find your life. But if you try to keep your life, then you'll lose it. I mean, he just said all these amazingly countercultural things. And one of the things I loved is that in Mark 10:35, he said, even I, Jesus, even I haven't come to be served, but I've come to serve and to give my life as a ransom for many. And so Jesus would tell us he didn't come to be a robe wearer. And he doesn't call us to be a robe wearer where everybody's focused on our needs, where we sit back and let everybody serve us. Jesus would call us to something else. It was Thursday night, on the night that he was going to be betrayed. He was going to go to the cross. He was going to, celebrate Easter 3 days later. That week, it was a Thursday night, and that day, the disciples, John didn't record it, but the other Gospels recorded that the disciples had been arguing over who was going to be the greatest. Jesus, who's the most important disciple? Who's the one that's going to sit next to you in your kingdom? And who's the greatest among us? They were arguing about that. And so Jesus decides that he's going to teach them a lesson. Now, he didn't give them a sermon. He gave them an object lesson. And when the time came for the meal that night, Jesus picked up a towel. He put it on his arm. He picked up a basin of water, and he knelt down, and he washed his disciples' feet. And when he did that, he said this, "Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash each other's feet." You see, Jesus made a conscious choice not to be a robe wearer, but a towel bearer. And then when he gave them that example, he told them, now you need to go and do likewise. And so if we are going to be a church that says we're Jesus followers, that we're Christians, we have to be towel bearers. We have to be servants. It's what Jesus called us to. And so if you're brand new, you're coming back from Easter or whatever, or maybe you've never heard this before, we have 3 values around here. 3 C's is what we call them. We have celebrate, which is what we do here. We come and we worship God together. We celebrate our relationship with Him. We connect in groups. If you're not in a group yet, get in a group. You're missing out on connecting with some other people. But the last C is contribution. And it's the idea that we get on a team around here and we serve. We serve. We serve each other and we serve the world. Because we don't want to be robe wearers. We want to be towel bearers. What I want to do with the rest of my time is look at this story a little more closely and show you 3 things about what it means to be a real towel bearer. If you have your Bibles, you can open them up to John 13. If not, we'll put some things up on the screen here. But the first point I want to make about what it means to be a towel bearer is this. A towel bearer isn't so concerned about who it is that they're serving. They're not so concerned about who it is that they're serving. Verse 2, it says, the evening meal was being served, and the devil had already prompted Judas Iscariot, son of Simon, to betray Jesus. Have you heard this story about Judas? He betrays Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. This very night when they do the washing of the feet and everything, that goes out to the garden, and Judas gives Jesus a kiss, and that's the signal to the guards to come and get Jesus and take him away and basically crucify him. It says here that the devil had already prompted Judas Iscariot, that things were already in motion when Jesus knelt down and washed Judas' feet. And Judas isn't the only one. Think about that Last Supper picture, that famous picture, and go around the table. Not only was Judas there, but Peter was there. Peter, the guy that was going to deny Jesus 3 times. Aren't you one of Jesus' followers? No, not me. In the hour of Jesus' greatest need, when he needed friends, when he needed somebody to back him up, when he needed somebody to stand with him, what was Peter doing? I don't know him. No, you were with him. Your accent betrays you. No, it didn't have anything to do with the guy. And Jesus knows that Peter's going to do this when he's washing his feet. Each of the rest of the 10 disciples, they weren't there. They weren't helping Jesus out, and yet he kneels down and washes every one of their feet. Let me ask you, what would you do? What would you do if you were getting ready to serve? If there were people in a room that you knew were going to betray you in your greatest hour of need, what would you do? If you had God-like powers, what would you do to those people? I'll tell you what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't serve them. I might serve them up, but I'm not going to serve them. And yet Jesus kneels down and washes their feet. Do you understand how radical a leader Jesus is. It's tough to be a towel bearer when you feel like you're serving people who are just going to take advantage of you. How do you serve a husband who's never been thoughtful of your needs one day in his life, it seems like? How do you serve a wife who never stops and says, I appreciate everything you do for this family? How do you serve a child who never wraps their arms around your neck and says, thank you for the sacrifices you're making? How do you serve a coworker who talks behind your back? How do you serve a neighbor who's always taking, never giving? How do you serve a friend who's always talking and never listening? How do you serve a church member who acts superior to you? How do you serve when you feel unappreciated and unnoticed by the people around you? You see, Jesus would teach us that a real towel bearer is one who's not so concerned about who it is that they're serving and the kind of attention they're going to get. In fact, maybe that's the second point here, is that towel bearers don't really care so much about the limelight. They don't care to be in the forefront or to get the credit. They just do what needs to be done. A towel bearer is not concerned about whom they're serving, but they just do what needs to be done. Look in John 13, verse 4. It says, Jesus got up from the meal. He took off his outer clothing. He wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin. He began to wash the disciples' feet and drying them with the towel as he wrapped that was wrapped around him. And this whole foot washing thing, I mean, it's weird in our culture. Back then it was very commonplace. These are people that are walking around with sandals, open-toed shoes, some of them with no shoes at all. Walking on dusty, unpaved streets, the same dusty, unpaved streets that camels and donkeys would share with them. Camels and donkeys going about their business and camels and donkeys doing their business on these streets. And these people are walking around in that. And then it was time to eat, to sit down and eat. They actually didn't sit down and eat. They laid down and ate at low tables. They would recline on one arm and have their right arm ready to eat. And each one would be sort of around the table with their feet out, but their feet at nose level of everybody else. And so it was customary when you came to somebody's house for dinner that one of their servants, one of their slaves would come and they would wash your feet to prepare you for dinner. There would be a ceremonial washing of hands as well. But here's the deal. That night, none of the disciples, none of the learners, none of the people that were there to really be servants of Jesus, to honor him, to be the ones that would follow him around and learn from him, none of them would stoop down. They saw what needed to be done, but none of them wanted to do the slave's job. I mean, heck, we were just arguing a couple hours ago about who was going to be the greatest. I'll tell you who the greatest was. It was Jesus. Because even though he wanted to make a point, I think he also was the kind of guy, whether there was a point to be made or not, who would just go, is there a need? Well, then I'll step up and meet it. If there's something that needs to be done, well, then I'm going to do it. I mean, it doesn't take much to look around and see in our world that there's a lot that needs to be done. Do you ever go to the schools and go, man, there's a lot that needs to be done around here? Do you ever look in the news or the newspaper or watch it and say, man, there's a lot that needs to be done in this world. You can't walk up and down this building or around in the parking lot to realize there's a lot that needs to be done. And I believe that God would call a towel bearer to be the kind of person that says, you know what, whether I want to or not, whether I'm going to get the credit or not or whatever it is, I'll do it. If it needs to be done, I'm going to do it. And that's what I'm presenting to you today. I'm hoping that you will be the people that say, if there's something that needs to be done, I'll do it. I want to be servant. I want to be a servant. I want to be a towel bearer. And if that's you, you may get to the point where you start asking the question, well, then what is it I'm supposed to do? God, I want to make a difference for you in the world. God, I don't want to waste my life. So what is it that you want me to do? Where do you want me to invest? I've met a lot of people that are at that point. So can I give you 3 questions to ask to begin to figure out what it is that God has for you to do in your life, your unique mission in life, the way that you can serve. The first question you can ask yourself if you're wanting to be a towel bearer is this: what are my gifts? What are my spiritual gifts? In Romans, Paul says it this way. He says, just as each of us has one body with many members. In other words, we have one body, but we have 10 fingers, 10 toes, legs, eyes, ears. And these members do not all have the same function. So in Christ, we who are many form one body, the church. We form one body together, and each member belongs to all the other members, and we have different gifts according to the grace given us. Some of you are gifted to teach, and you should teach. Some of you are great at music. You should do music. Some of you are great encouragers. Well, then do that. Some of you are great serving. You love to help. You love to work with your hands. Well, then let's figure out where you can do that. Some of you are great people. You are energized by being around people. Well, let's figure out how you can use that. See, everybody has a gift. And just like it's really hard, if you've ever lost a limb, or if you've ever watched people who, lost a leg in the war or lost an arm or something like that, it's difficult for them to get back into functioning the way that they used to function. It's hard for them to be what God created them to be until they have to learn that anew. It is also very difficult for us as a church, as one body, to function the way God wants us to function if we have members that are missing. Where God would say, you know what, I want this great group of encouragers over here, but the encouragers are going, I'm just not serving. Or I want this great group of teachers over here. Well, I'm not teaching. And so it's hard for the church to move forward if we're not all functioning within our giftedness. And when you function outside of your giftedness, it can kind of mess things up. Now listen, it was a great Easter. It was a marvelous Easter. I heard those numbers. That is pretty cool. And for me, it was a great Easter too, because I made the decision a couple weeks ago that I had preached 10 Easters at this church, and we've got Brad and we've got Kevin, and I thought, I'm going to step back. I'm going to let those guys preach the Super Bowl of church, and I'm just going to watch, and I'm just going to do the thing. But as Easter approached, I was like, but I got to do something, right? So here's what I did. You probably don't know this because I was here doing my Easter roll on Saturday night, and then I went to the Ann Arbor campus and did it on Sunday morning. My role on Easter was I went to Walmart and I bought Dum Dum suckers. Do you know what I'm talking about? Those little lollipops? I put a bunch of those. I have like 600-700 of these things, and I put them in a little Easter basket, and I stood at the door. And as people came in, I would give them to the little kids. I'd say, hey, happy Easter. We're glad you're here. This sort of thing. And I did have a couple of adults that stole my suckers. We're going to talk about that later. But anyway, these kids would come in and they'd take these suckers. And I was having a ball. It was Dum Dums from Dum It. I was really excited about it. And until about halfway through, I think it was the first, maybe it was the second service Saturday night, I had a kid come up, a little tear in his eye, unwrapped sucker. And he's like, I don't want this one. I don't want this one. And I thought to myself, what kind of spoiled brats are you people raising in this church? I'm giving a free sucker away to this kid. So I let him pick another sucker out of my little basket, and he walked away. And I thought, well, okay. Well, about 10 minutes later, this little girl comes up. Same thing, unwrapped sucker. She's like, it's not right. It's not right. So I thought, well, something's going on. So when I was unpackaging another, thing of suckers to put in my basket, I realized that the Dum Dum people were actually Dum Dums. And they put amongst all the good Dum Dums, the cherry Dum Dums and the butterscotch Dum Dums and the orange and the grape, they put these little mystery flavors in there. And these kids were coming up with Dum Dums flavored like pizza and bacon and buttered popcorn. And that's why all the little kids were coming up like with tears in their eyes going, why are you doing this to us, Pastor Dave? So I just want to come to you and publicly apologize for the child abuse that I met out on all the children of our church last week, and share with you that when you operate outside your area of giftedness, things don't go the way you want them to go. All right, that's the first question. You want to figure out what God's designed you to do? Man, just ask, what are your spiritual gifts? Here's the second question. What are my passions? Now, the way I like to explain how to figure out your passion is to use one of my old cartoon heroes named Popeye. Do you guys, some of you are younger, you're like, I don't know who he is. All I remember is like, the Power Rangers and stuff. But no, I'm talking before that, there was Popeye. And you remember Popeye had a girlfriend named Olive Oil, and you had Brutus, and you had the guy who always wanted cheeseburgers and stuff, which is probably why I always want cheeseburgers and whatever. So here's the deal. Popeye, in the midst of the cartoon, somebody would do something wrong. Just wrong. And Popeye he'd watch this and he'd just start to get upset. You remember this in the cartoon? And at some point, Popeye would say these words because they would just keep doing something wrong and just keep doing something wrong. And then at some point, Popeye would say, I've had all I can stands and I can't stands no more. Right? You remember this? And he would pop this thing of spinach. And he would eat the spinach, which is total propaganda. Spinach is disgusting, okay? But he would pop this spinach, and he would get all powerful, and he would go and beat people up and mete out justice on all the injustices of the world. And I would watch that and be like, yeah, But so here's the thing. You want to figure out what you're passionate about. You people are good people, and you care about all the injustice in the world. The racism, the sexism, the ageism, you care about that. And when kids come on TV and they got flies going around their face and they're trying to ask you for money for food, you care about that. And when you see that you got girls that are being sold into slavery, you care about that. When you talk about abortion, you talk about all the injustices or all the things that are going on in the world, you people stand up and you're like, you know what? We care about all those things. But there will be one thing or two things. There's going to be some time in your life where out of all the myriad of different things to care about, all the injustices, you'll just start to feel this thing in your gut. And it's like it makes you mad. It does, and it's a righteous anger, like God's anger when he sees injustice. And you're going to see it, and you're just going to go, what? Nobody's doing anything about this. Do you care about this? Do you care? I mean, is anybody seeing this? And at some point you're going to go, that's all I can stand, and I can't stand no more. And you're going to stand up and you're going to do something. And I'm saying that God-given passion, that anger against injustice, that's from God. And that's one of the ways you can begin to figure out what it is that God's calling you to do and how he's calling you to make an impact on the world. Now listen, there is all kinds of stories in the Bible where people operate in their giftedness. There are all kinds of stories where people operate in their passion, the thing that they're passionate about. But there are also all kinds of stories in the Bible where people are walking along and there is just an opportunity or a need that arises, and the true towel bearer is just going to do it. Like the true towel bearer does not, somebody breaks down on the side of the road, and I mean, Good Samaritan, what a great story, right? If somebody breaks down on the side of the road, you don't drive past them and go, oh, actually, my spiritual gift is teaching, so I'm sorry. Oh, my passion is hunger, so I can't help you, right? People are just going, as you drive by. Sometimes an opportunity just presents itself. So the third example is this. Hey, what needs to be done? What needs to be done? So if you're part of a church and there's things that need to be done, you need to step up and do them. If there are people in your neighborhood where they can't do something or they need help with something, guess what? You're the one that's called to do it. Jesus gave you that example. And so you step up to do it. All right, so those are the three things. I hope that you will step up and begin to explore what it is that God's called you to do. And finally, the third thing I want to tell you about a towel bearer is this, that a towel bearer is not motivated by earthly motivation. They are doing things for the right reasons. Now, this is something that Jesus always got on the Pharisees for. These religious leaders, they were always doing the right things. They were just doing them for the wrong reasons. And Jesus would say, hey, love that you're saying your prayers, but why do you have to do it in the middle of the mall and shouting them out everywhere so that everybody thinks you're so holy? Or hey, love that you're giving an offering, but why do you have to sit there and wave your check in front of everybody like, look what I'm about to do? I mean, they probably had these big Publishers Clearinghouse checks. They're like, this is what I'm giving, And Jesus would be like, no, you're doing the right thing. You're just doing it for the wrong reasons. Jesus even got after them for the robes that they wore. Because they would wear these big, ornate, flashy, colorful robes to say, hey, in case you missed it, I'm a religious leader. In case you missed it, I'm kind of one of God's favorites. And they would wear these robes. Jesus hated it. And I just want to say that one of the things I loved about last week's Easter was watching so many volunteers serving for the right reasons. Not because they get credit for it, not because anybody's going to, recognize them. They just served. I mean, do you know how many poopy diapers are represented by 8,000 people walking through the door? I mean, those things got changed back there by volunteers. Do you know how many cars got parked last week? Do you know how many services? There were 7 services. And our tech people were back there all of Saturday. Think about all the rehearsal and all that, all of Saturday and all of Sunday. And guess what? They have lives, just like you do. And yet they were here for hour after hour after hour after hour. And so I think it's probably cool because literally their job is to shine the spotlight on other people, right? I'd like to go ahead and metaphorically shine the spotlight on all these guys and girls back here that do all our tech stuff. And then all of you volunteered last week, and all of you, would you just say to all of our volunteers, way to go. Way to go. Because when you serve for the right reasons, when you do the right things for the right reasons, man, that is the sweet spot. That's what a towel bearer does. I'll bring it down to maybe something you can apply in your own, in your life this week. Husbands, let's imagine that you are buying a gift for your wife for no reason at all right? And we're just imagining, okay? But it's not her birthday, it's not Christmas, it's not Valentine's, it's not your anniversary, as far as you know. And you've checked and you don't think it is, but you're not sure. But so you're buying a gift and you walk out of the 7-Eleven and you got this gift. And I want you to look in the mirror and ask yourself, why am I doing this? I'm doing the right thing, but why am I doing this? Am I doing this because, hey, I really want to go fishing in a couple weeks, and so I'm just kind of buttering her up with this deal? Am I doing this because I want to buy something tomorrow, and I just want to kind of, grease the wheels as much as I can? Am I doing this because I'm hoping it's going to pay off later in the evening, if you know what I'm talking about? Why am I buying this gift for this lady? And if I could speak for the ladies, and ladies, if I get it wrong, you can go like this to me, okay? But here's the deal. Ladies want you. They want you to do it because you love them. They want you to do it not because you're trying to get something, not because you're trying to manipulate, not because you're trying to get attention, but just because, hey, when you're driving home from work and you're just going, I just love that girl. I just love her so much. And and my love is just kind of spilling over to, I got to buy something. I just got to buy something, right? Or whatever it is. Or I got to serve. Or I got to do it. See, that's what Jesus would say. That's just one example. But I think Jesus would say, you pick up the towel, not because you want to get something or be seen. You just do it because, Jesus, you have loved me so much. You have changed my life. You have blessed me. You have given me strength through hard times. You have forgiven all the junk in my life. You have given me purpose in a world where some people walk around just dead inside. God, you have given me a hope that overcomes anything that I come up against. And so Jesus, when you ask me to pick up a towel, heck yeah, I'm going to pick up a towel because I love you so much. That's what he said right here in verse 14. He said, now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. I tell you the truth, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you'll be blessed if you do them. Watch this.
Hello, my name is Megan, and I am a server at a local restaurant, and I've been here for a little over a year. I've been a server for about 8 years, a little over that, and I absolutely love it. It's a great way to connect with people, to meet people, to show my personality, and just to have fun. I started going to 242 through my manager, Dan. He's an avid goer and he really loves it, and he just expressed how awesome it was, so I decided to try it out and I really enjoyed it as well. I was challenged to realize and think about how I can serve the Lord through my job, and I definitely started realizing that that's actually true, that there's a lot of aspects in serving where you can relate it to serving the Lord as well. To be kind and to show your table's patience and to just be genuinely loving towards your tables and caring about them is a great way to serve the Lord, and it's what he calls us to be. I'm also not here just to serve my guests, but also my coworkers, to show them that I care about them, that I love them, and that I respect them as who they are, and that I can be there for them whenever they need me. Through my job, I actually met my friend Alicia, and we formed a relationship together, and we got really close through the times that she needed someone to be close with, and I realized that I could be a servant to her as well.
Hi, my name is Alicia, and my story is kind of a tough one. I have worked at the restaurant with Megan since she's been here, but I've been here for about 8 years. I've been serving for about 4. I recently got married last year, and we had a child together. Our marriage kind of fell apart as soon as he was born, and we separated shortly after. Being a single mom, it was really hard for me to figure out what my next step was going to be, like how I was going to be able to work without having my family nearby, because they're a good hour away. My mom helps me out whenever she can, and so that's when I turned to my friends that I work with, and Megan has been the class supporter and been there for me. And she's been a friend that I've been able to talk to through this, and my son and I have both come a long way.
I love helping Alicia out. Children are kind of my thing. I love it, and for me to be able to help her and to support her and to be there for her when she needs it is just kind of something that I love to do. So it's been a huge blessing to get to know her, and even though she's got things going on and it's rough, it's nice to know that she knows that she has people here that love her and support her and cherish her no matter what she's going through, and we're here for her and we love her. So I encourage anybody who's watching this video to serve the people around you, not only strangers, but the people that you work with, the people that you love, your friends and your family. At this restaurant, the largest tip that's ever been given is $150, and on behalf of 242, we would like to give Alicia double what has been given here to a recent server.
Thank you.
It's incredible.
That's the sweetest thing that I've had in a really long time.
I love you.
So thank you. Your generosity helped us give the biggest tip that's ever been given at that restaurant. And we're super excited about doing that. But what we're more excited about is the challenge that has been going out at each of our services over this weekend. We want to challenge you to go out to eat right after church and give your server the biggest tip you've ever given to a server. We want you to serve servers this weekend and bless their socks off. We want you to make sure that Jesus gets the credit by writing them a little note that says, hey, Jesus was a great servant and you were a great server today, or something like that. Or we have invite cards, or you can take your program and you can write your note on there, and that way they'll know it's from a church or whatever. But go out and bless these people. And if a couple of us do it, well, it's kind of nice. But if all of us go out there to these restaurants, I tell you what, I'm already getting stories and pictures and things where we're just blessing the socks off this community. And so I just want to encourage you to get in on the fun, to literally, after we're done here, to get up, go find a restaurant, and just sit there through the whole thing like, I can't wait to do this, I can't wait to do this, I can't wait to do this. And when the bill comes, just like double the bill. I mean, just do whatever you can to bless these people, and we will watch Jesus use it. We will watch God move in awesome ways. So I'm going to give you a song to think about that, to think about what you're hungry for today and what restaurant you want to go to. And the other thing I want to share with you, and this really is for you. I hope you get this. We're not at the point where we're desperate for volunteers in some area. If we ever get that way, I will let you know. I'll come up here and I'll say, this needs to be done. But what needs to be done is I think you need to be on a team. It's just a way to contribute around here. It's a way to feel like you're a part of what's going on. So there are connect cards in the seat backs in front of you. If you haven't filled one of those out, fill it out and show us, hey, I'm interested in this or I'm interested in that team. And I promise that's not a commitment on your part. That will just be a request for more information. So if you want to help pass out communion, you want to help us park cars, you want to help whatever, just say, hey, I'm interested in this. Give me some more information, and we'll have somebody contact you. Now, while you're filling those out, while you're talking with the people around you to figure out where do you want to eat today and who do you want to bless like crazy, the band's got a song for you.